Hi, I'm Jackie. In the last video where I talked about fluid compartments in the body, I ended with, the fact that like when I had hypertension, edema, and congestive heart failure, they prescribed severe sodium restriction. The problem is that sodium restriction, even with fluid restriction and diuretics to make you pee more, all added to the mix, doesn't entirely fix the problem. And the answer to the question of how much sodium we should have is pretty different than what they say. I'll explain in plain English, and I'm going to suggest that you stay to the end for another contest. So I've had all three: hypertension, severe edema with repeated cellulitis, infections, and congestive heart failure so bad I had to sleep in a chair as I couldn't breathe lying down. There's so much more to it than limiting sodium and or fluid, because the underlying problem is actually elevated insulin. Note that all of my discussion is assuming working kidneys. If you're on dialysis, you should listen to your nephrologist, not some crazy blue-haired chick on the internet. Okay, so sodium and water go together biochemically. That's why they say salt causes water retention. And we get rid of excess sodium and water via urine, which starts with the kidneys filtering the blood. Kidneys don't work like we think. When we think of a filter, we tend to think of something mechanical, like a coffee filter. But like all cells, they have receptors on their cell membranes, which control what they do. Insulin tells the kidneys to hang on to sodium and water. So if we have high insulin all the time, our body hangs on to, it can, in my case, it got to nearly drowning level. And we're prescribed various medications to lower blood glucose, which may include diuretics to make us pee more, anything to try to get the fluid volume down. When we begin fasting and or eating a very low-carb diet, preferably both, our insulin drops a lot. And the kidneys, relieved, let go and say, now I can dump this stuff. Well, it's more the bladder that's actually relieved. A lot of people will ask when they start on this journey, like, wow, I'm peeing a lot. Yep, you are. But the other thing that can happen is because your sodium level drops so fast, you can feel dizzy or lightheaded, nauseous even. You might get constipated. Sometimes sugar cravings will kick in when sodium is low. And you can feel fatigue and or muscle aches or weakness, headache, and brain fog. We commonly call this the keto flu, and people will sort of just tell you you feel crappy for a few days until you adjust. And some of it might be from switching to a glucose-fueled to a fat-fueled metabolism, because your body isn't used to that at first. And some might be some detox as toxins are released from your fat. But the vast majority of these symptoms, the keto flu symptoms, are low sodium symptoms, and they go away really fast if you just eat some salt. But if your body has been hanging on to salt for some time, as was in my case, this is sort of problematic in that I was on a diuretic, a beta blocker, and an ACE inhibitor, all of which are trying to lower my water and sodium levels to control my blood pressure, edema, and congestive heart failure. So it occurred to me fairly early on that it was kind of stupid to be eating salt to fix low sodium symptoms. Mine were usually just dizziness, lightheadedness from low blood pressure, while taking Lasix to make me pee out more salt. So I began weaning off of it. With time and my cardiologist's advice, We got me off all of those meds. My bra size went down numerous inches, 14 so far. As the fluid left, my feet became normal sized and I began wiggling my toes in pleasure during my morning pee, and my blood pressure normalized without any meds. I still get lightheaded sometimes, usually when I exercise, and I always carry this little bottle of concentrated electrolyte solution in my pocket for those times. It actually comes in this big bottle, but I just refill it. Now, there's lots of electrolyte products out there, mostly just sodium, because it's cheap, it's just salt. And the symptoms that come on fast are the ones people can fix fast with just sodium, so it's a great sale. I drank some Powerade and my symptoms went away, woohoo! The problem is that sodium potassium pump that we discussed last time. To keep it working properly, you need potassium too. In fact, each type of the pump goes through a cycle. It moves 3 sodium out and 2 potassium in. So to keep our fluids properly balanced, we need potassium too. And that's what we'll discuss next week, potassium. So subscribe so you don't miss that. But my overriding point is that sodium restriction isn't the answer. I did that for years while my fluid issues kept getting worse. Driving down insulin was the answer. When we look at normal people, there's this study which I've linked to below. And this is what they did in the study. They measured the total urine and the first morning urine to prove that they were correlated, right? That if we measure just the first morning urine, we're sure that we're getting something that implies how much total urine there is. Because, it's hard to collect all day urine, particularly for this experiment, because this was a multi-year experiment involving tens of thousands of people in hundreds of urban and rural communities across 5 continents for 8 years. This was a very thorough study. And what they wanted to know was who lives the longest without any events. By events, we mean a heart attack from cardiovascular disease or a stroke from vascular disease. And they wanted to figure out who lives the longest without events and how much salt they pee, which obviously you can't pee sodium you don't eat. So the answer was 4,000 to 5,000 milligrams. That is the level of salt that keeps you alive without events the longest. Whereas we're told to keep ours under 2,300. Now, if you have fluid issues right now, don't go out running out trying to eat 4,000 milligrams of sodium a day. You have to reduce your insulin first. Luckily, it's the very same thing that fixes diabetes, causes weight loss, and basically makes you feel about 1,000 times better. A high nutrient, low carb diet with periods of intermittent and or extended fasts. So here's the contest. Write your answer to this question in a comment below, and I will randomly pick one, and you could win one of these journals. So here's the question. What's the main meal type I recommend for reversing diabetes? Good luck!